First, an innocent cocoa bean bag is made out as an example to the employees who don't meet their daily quota. A cleaning system, which is a cage filled with starving refugees. Inside, the beans are read various bedtime stories, which trick them into thinking it's nighttime, causing them to remove their shells. Here you can see the employees' dedication to work through their bathroom breaks. This solution is later added to the final product for flavor. Then, a vacuum is applied to the beans, resulting in the two most popular forms of chocolate: hard chocolate and not so hard chocolate. The chocolate chips are then given a brief experience of typical Californian traffic. The employees are very careful to— "What are you doing, Peter?" and spins them at a constant rotation, separating them from their families. The factory extracts some of the cocoa butter from the mixture and immediately pours it in the sewer in a bit of environmental conservation. Finally, the chocolate chips are again jostled, this time just to piss them off. By this time, the beast has been awoken and must be fought back by employees with various instruments. Doing this allows the chocolate to pass through mixers and refiners to give it a softer texture, and also prevents the beast from ushering in 1,000 years of darkness. At this stage, potting soil is ground into the chocolate for about 6 years, allowing the chocolate to return to a liquid state. Then, the chocolate goes into this big fucking machine, and I don't know what this thing does, to be honest, but by this point the chocolate is now chocolate chips, I guess. The chocolate chips are cooled until about 50 o'clock. An employee then activates a grinding machine, wherein the constant heat and pressure create a chocolate soup mixture, referred to in the industry as chocolate soup mixture. The chocolate chips are then jostled ever so slightly to prevent them from falling asleep, creating their rich and stressed out flavor. Inexpensive boards use other materials to substitute for wood, such as compressed talcum powder and spray-painted cardboard. These high-end boards use sheets from a now extinct type of wood found only in parts of northern Ukraine. Next, mint coating is added to the board, for taste. The press applies 44 tons of pressure, causing the sheets to reach peak arousal, as evidenced by the substance coming out of the sides. Now it's time to prepare the skateboards for consumption. 95% of profits of skateboards actually come from their hidden involvement in the drug trade. Here, boards are laced with PCP before going to distribution. This excess wood provides sustenance for the employees. This section of how it's made is brought to you by our sponsor, Dyson Vacuums. We were told if we wanted our sponsorship money, we had to find a use for this stupid fucking brush wheel thing. What the hell kind of skateboarding is that? Workers stack 35 of these sheets together and place them in a hydraulic press lock to prevent would-be thieving employees from stealing the wood and selling it on the black market. Each year, nearly 17% of employees involved in this process end up missing. The sheets are put through industrial rollers to make sure there is no leftover wood juice left in them. This could make the skater sick if they choose to drink it. Of course, the most common decorations come from pop culture, such as this recognizable character, Really Angry Bird Thing. Then, an employee uses the board to practice his hootenanny dancing for an upcoming cattle rustling event. For the skateboard, this is extremely painful. It all starts with a load of skinned dog carcasses. This process is rough on the meat, so it's not uncommon for some afterbirth to be evacuated by the product. This afterbirth travels down a separate conveyor belt, where it will then be used in cosmetics. You thought I was kidding about the brining, didn't you? Well, the next actual step is brining. The meat hates this, and falls apart under the stress into the strips we've come to know and love. Then the bacon is shown the might of the German army by being run over by a Panzerkampfwagen 4 medium tank. Just off camera, two very strong men jostle these chutes back and forth with all their might. They do this because meat is a good source of protein. The meat now passes under... Wow, I don't know what this is, but that just looks nasty. I'm sorry, but we are required by law to show you this. Then it's into the drench cabinet for a bath in what remains of the employees who rally for better working conditions. Then, a local sweatshop worker earns his $2 an hour salary by putting hooks into the meat and then hanging them on a rack. The meat is sealed away in case any of it is still screaming. The factory crew often relieves stress by playing a game of Jenga with the slabs of meat. This game is a particularly close one, so they're wrapping it up for later. The meat is then transferred to the show floor, where customers can choose which bacon slab they want to wear for this coming fall season. As you can see, the crew really loves Jenga. Then, the brine solution is mixed with red food coloring to give the bacon its signature red taste. Making paper by hand is a craft that involves techniques and materials that go back over 2,000 years in China. These techniques have evolved over time, but the main ingredient remains the same: exploitation. The paper is then retrieved by a big dumb nerd who drapes them over a row of circular rocks, proving the paper's dominance. By this point, workers are unable to stop the roller's crushing force and have to jam the machinery by frantically throwing as much trash into the Hollander as they can. It collects in a garbage can ready for the next step called squeezing it gently. The resulting pulp is sexually assaulted. By this point, the paper is wet, cold, tired, and cranky, so it is rolled onto a hot towel, and then the paper is put into a hydraulic press. Here, the paper is interrogated about government conspiracies. The pressure of all its well-guarded secrets possibly being exposed cause it to sweat out its excess moisture. Paper are all notorious liars. Workers empty out the trash into a tub called a Hollander, which is filled with water. If the machinery still refuses to halt, an intern is brought in to manually assist with the process, since none of them have proper health insurance. The paper is then hidden from the health inspector. A moderate amount of rum is added to the mixture, turning it into pulp, and to make sure the paper is too inebriated to say anything incriminating. Next, tiny scraps of paper are added to the pulp, to remind the pulp what it's supposed to eventually become. Sometimes, this practice is leaked to local news outlets, so the interns are also in charge of destroying any paper trails leading to the incident. Is it just me, or does anyone else want to eat this stuff? It looks oddly delicious. This pulp here also helps in the production of babies. Whatever of this paste isn't used in paper production will be sent to NASA to use as astronaut food. Handmade paper is a distinctive choice for a variety of uses, such as this document declaring paper to be obsolete in the digital age. The factory is careful to never introduce any scissors into this environment. The process begins with used bed sheets, which are recycled by being cut into individual strips. The sheets are often left unwashed to preserve a rustic feel in the product. Each individual hot dog is made from a mix of pork, beef, and 2,040 chickens. Hot out of the oven, the hot dogs are drenched in chilled pig sweat, this time to cool them down for packaging. It pumps the meat in, twisting it every 5 1/4 inches, which is exactly what Paula here wishes her husband would do more of in the bedroom. The trimmings are pushed through grated metal plates, simultaneously grinding the meat and producing strings for high-quality mops. And no matter how humanely or efficiently this process is done, vegans will still complain about it. Ground-up pieces of Mars rock are also added to the mixture to give the hot dogs a flavor that's out of this world. The cuts of meat they start with are called trimmings and come from animals that are too sick to be housed in typical meat production plants. The hot dogs are drenched in pig sweat to enhance their flavor. Other regurgitated foods are collected and added to the ground meat, followed by food starch, salt, and mustard scooped up from the factory floor. It takes just 35 seconds to make a chain of a whopping 10 hot dogs. The black stripes on the hot dogs disappear for no reason, and a small child in disguise as a factory worker plays with his food.